Bouwar Hustle proudly presents All Eyes on Cleveland. My name is Brad Ward. Mikey's on the ones and twos, and welcome to a Friday night edition of the show with very special guest Ken Carman of 92.3 The Fan. This is our extensions and expectations edition of the show. We're going to get right to the interview, and Mikey's got it all queued up and ready to go, so we're going to get right to it. Ken Carman, host of the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima every weekday on 92.3 The Fan in the morning. He also does national radio for CBS Sports Radio on the weekends, on Saturdays, weekdays, and game days for the Browns Radio Network. And, of course, Fox Friday Night Touchdown on Fox 8. And more recently, the emerging podcast scene with him and Anthony Lima as well. So let's get right to the interview. We good, Mikey? Mikey's got everything squared away, and we're going to get right to this interview here with one and only Ken Carman here on All Eyes on Cleveland. And we are absolutely thrilled to welcome back to All Eyes on Cleveland this evening, the one and only Ken Carman, host of the Ken Carman Show every weekday morning on 92.3 The Fan. He does Saturdays national radio on CBS Sports Radio, weekdays and game days for the Browns Radio Network, and Fox Friday Night Touchdown on Fox 8. And most recently, the emerging podcast scene, which I have to ask you about, Ken. How are you enjoying the podcast scene, the emerging podcast scene?
It's an okay podcast scene. It's not too terribly long. So, we're able to kind of get it in and get it going and have a little bit of fun, but not dilly-dally too long and get it out there for everybody. So more people we finally found a way where people can download it after. I can't really explain it. You just need to go to 92.3 The Fan Extra. And away they go. So,
that's awesome. I've enjoyed it. Very much. You guys are great on there, so that's awesome. Another angle to you guys, so very good. Let's dive into some Browns here while I have you, sir. The national narrative on Baker Mayfield is kind of one that is giving credit to Kevin Stefanski, giving credit to the run game, but not so much to Baker Mayfield. Now, locally here, we're kind of, at least I am bought in. I feel like I've seen enough from him. But there's a question kind of surrounding him that just kind of asks if he was to have to put the game on his shoulders and just throw his way to a victory, can he do that for the Browns? And have you seen enough, Ken, to believe that that is the kind of guy and kind of player that he is?
He did it a couple times last year, so I think he can. So yeah. I just think he's in an offense that's built to win a lot of regular season games, but with a running game. I don't think that that's necessarily a problem. It's weird. He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. And I think he's a guy who needs good. I think he needs a solid coach. He's never had that. That's why it was such a mistake to keep Hugh Jackson that first year when Baker was a rookie. And I mean that was a mistake, and I thought it was a mistake when they elected to keep him. They got rid of him halfway through the year. Greg Williams is a good football coach for a short period of time.
Yes.
And he can be very emotional and nuts. Freddie was basically me as a head coach. And I like Freddie, but that's exactly what he was. And then Kevin Stefanski has been just an adult in the room. And I think that's what Baker has needed the whole time, is an adult in the room. And, he was good with Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley is an adult and not stupid and doesn't go crazy and doesn't do things irrationally. And he's a younger guy, but he's very cerebral. And Kevin Stefanski is a younger guy who's very cerebral. But he puts Baker in a position to win, but that's not good enough for the media. That's not good enough for like me. Well, look at the – okay, well, and this is not going to be a great comparison, but if you see Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins, and then you see Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield, there's a lot of similarities there where it's like, okay, we got to knock down these turnovers because we're putting him in a bad position. We have to build his confidence there. Now, Kirk Cousins already had confidence, so you didn't have to worry on that with Baker. But then over time, you open things back up. When Kirk Cousins was in Washington, and I think now that Jay Gruden was on a podcast, I want to say this was last year. How long has it been since Jay Gruden's been fired? Only 1 year. So he said when Kirk Cousins was in Washington, he had to make he couldn't everything had to be perfect for him to make those throws. He couldn't throw you into wins. And now you're seeing Kirk Cousins, where some of this stuff I think is garbage time, but I think he really did a good job keeping that offense afloat. Justin Jefferson certainly helps. But I thought he did a good job with him and a good wide receiver keeping that offense afloat with a good running back too. I think you can start to see this year the same thing with Baker, where eventually things are going to have to open up. And Kevin Stefanski talked a little bit about that yesterday, but I think that things are going to gradually open up here, where the ball's going to be put in Baker's hands. But I don't want Baker to throw 60 times a game. I wouldn't want Joe Burrow to throw 60 times a game. So there's going to just have to be a balance. And I think that the media is either going to, A, have to accept that, or B, Baker's just going to have to go out there and win. I know that the smart people, the analytical people in football will say QB wins isn't a stat you measure by. Well, they'll measure his contract by wins. Because if they go out there and they run the ball 300 times with Nick Chubb and 100+ times with Kareem Hunt, well, there's only, you're getting 80 snaps a game. There's going to be passes that you can throw, obviously, but it's not going to be all over the place. This is going to be the K gun here. So you can see him in a spot where, say they get to the AFC Championship game, they lose to a guy like Mahomes, or God forbid they lose to Josh Allen, which has become the darling. Then it's, well, what do you do with Baker? What do you do with Baker? Well, you'll probably pay Baker commensurate to a high-end quarterback, because that's something you have to do. Will it be Dak Prescott, or by that time will it be Lamar Jackson or even Josh Allen himself? Maybe not. Maybe it won't be. But there will be a lot of money. Or you can still go the Dak Prescott route just later, where you end up having a franchise tag him later on and see where you go from there. So I think that this could be, some people really disagreed with me. They thought that this thing's going to be done now. I said, I think this would go by the way of Dak Prescott. Some people really thought I was silly on that. I think it'd go that way, because if Baker has a really good year, I think he's going to want really good money. And they may just look at it and go, well, we got to keep this player and that player. And, the cap could only go up by, the 205, 208, somewhere in there. And, we're going to have to make some decisions. We're already a very, very expensive offense. So we'll see how it pans out here.
Yeah, so it can go up to 208.5, which is a pretty good margin. I mean, that's a $25 million jump from where they are at this year, to try to get them back on track as far as the cap goes, which is beneficial to the Browns, because they do have to pay some guys. And as you mentioned here with Baker, I don't think with his extension, Ken, I don't think it behooves either side, Baker Mayfield's camp or the Browns, to want to do this now. I think that in Berea, they want to see more data points on him. And I think probably Baker's like, another year I can ask for some more money.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense for them to come to the table next year. I would like at all costs to try to avoid a franchise tag, because that just really gets out of control fast. As you saw with Dak, they ended up overpaying him when they could have just paid him right away and gotten it done. I've seen enough from Baker where I'd be comfortable doing it now, but I just don't think it makes sense to do it until next offseason.
I thought right after the season was, if you were going to sign him to an extension, that's the point to do it. Everybody's got good feelings about each other, and Baker had his career back on track, and everybody's feeling good about him. But as time separates, then you see how it makes sense for both sides. We're still going to want to guard against Jared Goff. We're still going to want to guard against Carson Wentz. And I could say nasty things about either one of those quarterbacks. I actually liked Jared Goff. I never liked Carson Wentz, and he was really proving me wrong there for a while. And then it just became terminal with him. I love Frank Reich, so we'll see. It's weird. I'm not a fan of Carson Wentz, but I love Frank Reich, so we'll see what Frank Reich can do with him. But those are different examples there. I think Dak Prescott's interesting. I think Dak Prescott proved how worthy he was not playing.
Absolutely.
You had Ben DiNucci, and then you had Andy Dalton, and you had nothing. And God forbid, I don't want that situation to play out with the Browns, because it either way it's bad. If they have Case Keenum and he goes out there and he sucks up the room because something bad happened to Baker, then we're not reaching our full potential on a team that God could touch the moon this year.
Yeah.
And if he does do well with that talent around him, it's gonna be one ugly show after another on every show and every podcast. No, because there's gonna be some. There will be some Case Keenum people. There will be some Baker Mayfield people, and I will still say, all right, God forbid if Baker Mayfield gets hurt and Case Keenum comes in and does well, one guy has the future, the other guy doesn't. Which one are you going to pay? I don't think it's much of a question still, but people will make it one. So
yes, they will.
Hopefully, we'll never have to discuss that though.
I hope not, Ken. That's for sure. All right, so Nick Chubb. Let's talk about Nick Chubb. Now, I've had a couple people in a row come on the show. Smart people come on the show here. Jake Burns said this to me. G. Bush last week, Garrett Bush came on and told me the same thing, that he can foresee Stefanski at some point this season just going, forget this two-back thing. I'm just going to ride Nick Chubb and just give him the ball a ton this year. Can you see that happening for the Browns? Can you see him just getting carried away with it?
At any time, yeah. Nick Chubb has always had to share the ball. He had to share the ball in Georgia with Sony Michel, and he had to share the ball at the beginning of his career. Wasn't it Carlos Hyde?
Yeah.
That was the starting running back at the beginning of that year, and then he got released or traded, I think.
Traded, yeah.
Yeah. Nick Chubb's always had to share the football, and I think that really bothers Nick. And it would bother me if I were Nick, because you're trying to get paid there. It could be a situation now if he's just given the bulk of the carries, and we're talking well over 300 carries this year, and he does that well, then we got to talk about what we're going to pay Nick Chubb and whether or not we're just going to franchise him and run him into the ground and franchise him again after that, which would be a huge jump, but still run him into the ground again. I think Nick's a one-of-a-kind running back, but I also know the position could fall apart at any time. And I got to tell you, if I were a Tennessee fan, I'd be terrified. You had almost 400 carries last year with Derrick Henry. Your backup, was it McKinnon or McCluskey or God knows who? I forget. God, the name's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember it. But you know what's Tannehill going to be this year? You're always kind of waiting for what's going to happen with Ryan. And now there's no more Arthur Smith. So what type of offense are you going to be? And if, God forbid, something happens to Derrick Henry, then there's a problem. So there's always a plus to being able to put the ball in a running back's hand that many times. There's always certainly a negative. And so to pay him that type of money, I think it would be scary for a lot of Browns fans, even though a lot of Browns fans would be happy for Nick and feel Nick deserves it. It would still go, okay. But for a lot of these guys, they seem to just fall off a year or two after they get this money because it's just such a high volume position that they're there today and gone tomorrow. And because it's that way, people don't want to give them very much money.
Well, here's the thing with that. So the franchise tag is, if you did it for 2 years, it would average out to be about $12 million a year. They gave Derrick Henry 4 for $48 and guaranteed him like $25 or $26 million.
Yeah.
That would be what I would want to give Nick Chubb. Like, you're only giving them guaranteed money-wise a 2-year deal, basically. You're giving them like a 2-year deal of guaranteed money, and the money's almost exactly the same as the franchise tag. So you're really just giving them 1 extra year of security. And to avoid going down the franchise tag road with him, I think I would do that. I would almost look into doing it this camp. So the new money wouldn't hit for another year.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that? Is that too much, too scary for you?
Yeah, because you just want to make sure your cap is where you think it's going to be.
Okay.
And I hate saying it because I like Nick Chubb so much. You want to make sure your cap is where you think it's going to be. You don't want to have to be caught having to cut somebody to pay somebody who got hurt or something like that. I would still say wait, and if you couldn't come up with something, I think you'd throw the tag on him.
Okay.
Well, you mentioned camp. You mentioned camp. Like, I'd be happy, but I'd be a little bit nervous. But hey, if you're talking 4 for 48 and 25, you said guaranteed.
Yeah, 2 years basically.
Yeah, 2 years. That's basically the same thing. So who'd really get upset with something like that? Plus, you're getting an extra 2 years on top of this one, is what it would be. So
right,
fine too.
Yeah, and he'd be about 28 years old by the time that deal ended, 29. So yeah. I don't. It's pushing it a little bit, but you're really only just giving them the one extra year, versus the franchise tag. So I guess avoiding that. Now, if you go transition tag, that's like $8 million, and then you're going down a whole different road. But that's going to upset the player, I think. So yeah. I don't know if you want to go down that road either.
At least that's honest, though, because we can upset the player, but the only way the player gets out is for the player to play well.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. All right, so let's look at Denzel Ward real quickly here. What do you need to see? He's going to ask for like $17 million a year, like a top-paid cornerback. What do you need to see from him this year to go next offseason and sign him to that deal?
He's got to stay healthy. It's that simple, because if he stays healthy, I think he'll get right back on track. He didn't make he's not on anybody's list. He's not on any top 25 under 25, or he's 24 years old. He's not on any one of those lists. This was a Pro Bowl corner when he first started. This was a guy who who made us all forget about Joe Hayden his rookie season, had a much better start than Joe Hayden did, and was just a top-end corner, and he had even got hurt that year. If you stay available, I think that he'll be a top-end corner again. He's just got to stay available. That's all there is. That's all there is to it. If he stays available, I think he creates a massive good problem for the Browns about what to pay the guy. You're talking $17 million. All right, well, you want to pay him $17 million. So I guess you get that figured out. But that means somebody else is probably not going to get paid on that defense. But you got a number 4 overall pick. You want to be able to pay him. I don't want to get too crazy here.
Yeah, he's a cornerback is such a position of that you need an elite guy like that. So if he plays elite, and if he plays 14 games, I'm comfortable with it. That's where it's at. He's not durable, but if he played 14 games this year and played well, I'd be okay with it, I think.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Okay, very good. Wyatt Teller, he's going to be, $15 million a year. Scherf gets 18 right now. He's the best guard in football. How do you want to handle that next, looking at him moving forward?
I want to pay him. I want to pay him. I want to pay him right now. I disagreed with Joe Thomas, and Joe knows way more about offensive linemen than I'll ever know. But Joe wanted to pay Nick Chubb. I said if it came down to it, I got to pay Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller will. Nick Chubb can protect Baker in a lot of ways, but he can't protect him like Wyatt Teller. He can't clear his own path the way Wyatt Teller can. And I don't know if it's. I brought it up as a Wyatt Teller Nick Chubb thing to Joe just for bleeps and giggles.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's somebody else across the offensive line who gets the axe.
That's what I think. Yeah,
I think that's the way it goes because Lyman's brought it up with me a couple times. Well, you can't pay all 5, and I go, no, he can't pay all 5. But there's an 8-year veteran, a 9-year veteran who you could probably go away from. Hate to say it, but it's true. I love Joel Bitonio. I think Joel Bitonio would be fine. J.C. Treader has played through injuries and has played very, very well. I would wonder about one or two of those guys. You just signed Jack Conklin, but we'll see what Jack Conklin's contract does and how good he can be. That might be a surprise if he's not able to play very well, but I think he should be just fine. Jedrick Wills, that's the future of your position right there, so nobody's touching Jedrick Wills. And Wyatt Teller has gone from a guy who we didn't really know whether or not he was going to be a starter going into this year at that guard position to exactly what you said, the best guard in the AFC. And so if he's the best guard in the AFC, you can give a little bit of credit to Bill Callahan if you want to, but I'd rather just pay the guy and keep him around, and I'd rather keep Wyatt Teller around. So, I'm always going to be an offensive line guy first, especially because Baker's don't kill me. Baker's 6 feet tall, and he doesn't have the athleticism of some of the other quarterbacks out there. He's just not that fast. He can be slippery. He can be. He's good on pay. He's good on boot and all that other stuff. That's not an art. That's not a shot at Baker. It's just the truth. I want to keep him protected as much as I can. That means I want to keep Wyatt Teller, and I want to do what's necessary to keep Wyatt Teller. And if that's at the expense of some other players, so it's a tough decision, but so be it.
You're listening to Ken Carman of 92.3 The Fan here with us on All Eyes on Cleveland. Just a couple more questions for you, Ken, and we'll get you out of here. As far as the Teller thing goes, I look at it, Treader and Bitonio. Treader's 30, Bitonio's 29, Teller's 26. As you said, and Bitonio and Treader, their guaranteed money is out. So really they can walk away from those guys whenever they want. So if you wanted to let one go next offseason and pay Teller and you feel like you have a replacement, because I think there's a number of guys in that room that they like behind them.
Well, the whole goal is we won't get to see Nick Harris.
Right.
The whole goal is that we won't get to see Drew Forbes or any one of those other guys.
James Hudson, yeah.
Yeah, James. Oh, gosh, that's right. They just drafted James Hudson. So
Yeah.
Your whole goal right now is to, and I'm sure you've talked about this before, your whole goal is to be able to develop some offensive linemen. And sometimes it works out really, really well. And it did there for a little bit until the bottom just completely fell out with the Steelers this last year. And even then, they still have a guard who I'm really excited about in Kevin Dotson. They got a couple other guys. They just took that, the one kid I think from Miami in the third round who they're really excited about and want to make him their starting center. But they put themselves in a bit of a bind because they got themselves in cap hell, and so some of the guys that they took couldn't really play along really great players, but they've developed Matt Filer. They had developed Chris Hubbard. They developed him, and I know that Chris wasn't necessarily the very best for us, but he was great in spot duty. Maybe he's just better in spot duty.
Yeah.
So I think that's their goal is what they're doing, and they have to do that, where you take a guy later on and you develop him and keep him as a special teams guy and do that, and then eventually he steps into that role with a lot of hard work. We're seeing more and more offensive linemen where before it was the conversation, well, if the lineman's good, he's just going to play. Well, in some cases that's still true, but in a lot of cases there's guys who have to develop into that position. We talk about Taylor Lewan all the time, who was a first-round pick, and for a while he was doing more podcasts than he was taking snaps, and he became a really good offensive lineman. So There's certain guys that you just have to develop into that role. And I hope that Nick Harris can. He's had one really good game, one really rough game. James Hudson is a rookie. Everybody else is kind of up in the air. We'll see. And some people are more excited about the other ones, or some people are more excited about other ones than what some other fans might be when it comes to the backup and the younger guys, and the backup offensive linemen who are pretty young.
Yeah. I mean, some of those guys that stepped in last year and played incredible, the Blake Hanses of the world and those guys too. It'll be interesting to see how their careers develop as well, as they seem to like them and are keeping them around as well. Ken, two more questions for you here. OBJ looks good. It looks like he might be back for week 1 potentially. Let's hope. There's no need to rush him back or anything like that. Are you concerned about what he does to Baker Mayfield? Because I'll be honest with you, Ken, it concerns me still. For me, that was a real issue with Baker, with him on the field. He was a different quarterback when he was gone. And Stefanski and Barry want you to buy into, that was just him learning the offense. Well, it was pretty stark contrast for me, and he seemed like a different guy without him on the field. Has he matured enough to have OBJ out there and be the same quarterback he was at the end of 2020?
I hope so. I mean, Baker is I keep looking over to the right because my son's messing around on we have a swing, like a big swing in here for him. So he's messing around over there, so I keep glancing off. I think he can be. I don't want to believe. I don't want to believe it's as simple as, well, Baker tries too hard when OBJ is on the field or something like that to give OBJ the ball. I don't want it to be that way. And I think that's I have felt it's as lowest common denominator argument as possible. And I don't want that to be true. I'm afraid about it. I don't know what he's going to be when he comes back. I hope that, because I think now, because this team has been successful and they were successful without him, OBJ has to fill a role. That role might be a bigger role than I'm making it out to be. I think it could be. If he has to fulfill a role as the number 1 wide receiver, that's fine. But he has to fulfill a role that you need to be where Baker needs to be, and Baker will find you. No more of this other stuff. No more of this forcing the ball to you here. This thing works with Baker, and it needs to go with Kevin Stefanski, and that's just going to be the way the damn thing goes. So that's maybe in the terms of filling a role. If he has to be a slot guy or anything like that, that's not what I'm saying. But
yeah,
he's a number 1 wide receiver, but now he has, instead of being the biggest piece, the biggest star, I think that he's still a star, but he needs to fulfill a role to make this offense go. And if he can't do that, they will have problems. They will have problems with him.
This wide receiver room has a lot of question marks after this year, certainly. Do you view Donovan Peoples-Jones as a guy that can be a number 2 in the NFL?
Someday down the line, yeah. Hopefully at the end of this year.
I hope so too. Last question for you, Ken. All right. I appreciate your time tonight. You've been fantastic.
I don't know why I'm in this freezing ass basement right now, and I'm all stuffed up. I left my thing off. Because I'll stand up, I'll go upstairs, and I'll feel fine. So I don't know what the hell's going on, if it's allergies or whatever. I didn't think I had allergies. Yeah. I usually have my candle on, and this one is orange buttercream. And usually I keep it off because then I'll start to, but I'm sniffing anyway. So I know once I go upstairs, I'll be perfectly fine. But right now I'm kind of battling through it for whatever reason. Go ahead.
I'm the same way. It's the air allergies kill me, and it says the air quality is very poor right now.
If you look that air quality, it's the best. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. Last question. Would you rather in 2021 have Baker Mayfield throw for 4,500 yards, OBJ catch for 1,500 yards, or Nick Chubb run for 2,000 yards? And keep in mind the financial implications of each. It's a doozy, I know.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Baker, because it's better for the future. There you go. That would give me enough confidence to say that you can pay the guy and you can start to peel away a little older talent, more expensive talent, while trying to replenish with younger guys. So Baker, it has to be. I thought too hard about it. It's Baker.
Okay. I will take that as an answer, and I tend to agree with you there. I tend to agree with that answer. Ken Carman of 92.3 The Fan, CBS Sports Radio, the Browns Radio Network, Friday Night Touchdown on Fox Sports 8, and of course the emerging podcast scene. Loving the emerging podcast scene, Ken. You are fantastic. I love when I tweet your guys' show. You always are like, "Oh, Brad, he's a good guy. He's a great guy. I love it. You're so nice to me on the air, and I appreciate it."
We like you. I like you. I shouldn't say it like that. Like I like you, and I don't like everybody else. I like you. I felt bad. Okay, so there's I don't know how he took it. I'm gonna have to reach out to this guy. There's another Brad who posted a picture of the Mac Wilson posted the Mac Wilson photo with the bicep all funhousey. And I don't know. I heard he might not have taken it the right way. And I go, we weren't hammering you. You're just the guy who gets the thing. I got to talk to. Hopefully at Browns camp, the media's allowed in there because there's another Brad I have to find and I have to talk to because I don't want him to be hot. I heard through back channels he might be a little hot, and I hope that he wasn't hot because it was the photo. We didn't say we said he put the photo out. We didn't say that was his photo. And so I hope that there's a distinction there, and I hope that he's not too hot with me over something like that. So we'll get that one figured out.
I know him. I'll tell him. I'll let him know.
I like Mac Wilson. I defend Mac Wilson. I think that Mac Wilson's on the bubble. I'm not crazy about it. I just don't know why everybody's so damn mean to Mac Wilson. It seems to be on Twitter, even though the photo looked a little off.
It did.
But other than that, I love Mac Wilson.
It did. Well, you know what, Ken? We love you. You're the best in town when it comes to sports radio, and I enjoy you guys so much. So thanks for making the time for me. It's an honor.
Brad, thank you very much. Anytime you need me, hopefully we'll be able to do it again soon, bud.
Absolutely, sir. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, you too.
And we're back. That was the interview with the one and only Ken Carman of 92.3 The Fan. Big thanks to Ken for fitting us in his busy schedule and coming on and talking some Browns football. Real quick, we're going to hit you with the little Troy Hill message.
They're all eyes on Cleveland. We here, yeah. They're all eyes on Cleveland. We here, yeah.
So let's talk real quick. A couple things going on with the Browns, and we'll get you out of here. Good video today of Grant Delpit on the field cutting. He looked good. He was cutting hard on his knees, and he looked excellent out there on the field. So excellent video. And basically, what we've heard at this point is that Greedy and Grant Delpit should be ready for camp. A-OK, ready to go. And that's excellent to hear for sure. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah has signed his rookie deal. That is everyone in the rookie class except for Anthony Schwartz and Greg Newsome are the only two yet to sign their rookie deals. OTAs this week, mostly about 55 guys, mostly defensive guys in there. Anthony Walker was there. Some of the new people were there. So that was nice to see. Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, nice leadership from them showing up and working this week. I don't know what kind of deal they have worked out here. No offensive players of significance in camp, obviously. There's rumored to be there next week. So maybe they worked out defense this week, offense next week. But that doesn't even seem to make sense, because why would the defense show up this week and then leave and then directly have the mini camp after that? I would think that the defense would be here through the whole thing. I guess maybe they're giving the offense a pass because they've had, the passing camps with Baker Mayfield in Florida, Austin, and then, they've had, Schwartz and Landry lurking together. A number of guys. I think the offensive line got together at one point. So there's they've been doing work away from the facility, but nobody showed up for the offense this week. Let's see if, Bake and everybody shows up next week. Should be interesting. I don't know what kind of deal they worked out. This was rumored to be a deal they worked out, but for me, I mean, they did 7-on-7s. I'm pretty sure they did 11-on-11s from what I read. So to me, it would sound like not much of a deal was worked out. They just basically missed the early portion of phase 3 and then brought in the defense and some other guys and the rookies and everything for the last 2 weeks. So they'll get, they got a couple OTAs in this week, and they should get 3 or 4 more in next week. I think it's 3 more next week. OTA practices, and then you'll have your mandatory mini camp, which is mandatory mini camp. Official dates are June 15th to the 17th. So, and this week we'll have more OTAs. So, and we'll get more reports on who's showing up and whatnot there. But all good news around there. We're getting videos of Baker working out. We're getting videos of Odell looking great. And as I mentioned earlier, Delpit cutting today out on the Browns practice field. Good video of that. Greedy Williams out there in a shell and a helmet on, doing some work. So it looks like these guys will be participating in camp, at least on a limited basis. And that's all good news from there. 2 more guys to sign in the rookie class. OTAs next week. Awesome show yesterday with Matty Brown. We covered the Seattle cover 3. Go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. Last week, we had G. Bush on the show, as well as the evolution of the Browns offense with Jake Burns, and then today, Ken Carman of 92.3. So 4 good shows there that you can go check out at the All Eyes on Cleveland YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe on your way out. For Mikey on the 1s and 2s, my name is Brad Ward. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful outside. Enjoy it. And with that, we are out.